and let you get out yourself and hunt for a job, so I'll get you a job. Now, wasn't that nice of her?
It was.
But you know, I just can't remember her last name or her first name either one. So she says, she says, I know a woman that works at Sears, and she lives here in Nashville, and I'll see if she can't use you for a babysitter. Well, I got a little job in a restaurant. I got a job babysitting for this morning, but I got a job in a restaurant too because that didn't pay too much. You know, she paid me, but anyway, I done work for my room and board, and that helped out. Well, she says, I'll tell you, said, you can stay with me, and you can get another job. And her mom and her dad stayed with her. She was married. She had a very nice husband. She had 4 kids. She had 2 girls and 2 boys, and the little boy was deaf and dumb. And her dad worked for these races, fast figure, you know. He'd go to Omaha, Nebraska and things. And I stayed there with Harry. That was her husband. He was nice, you know. If he hadn't been nice, he'd say, what about going to bed together and things like that. You know, but he never paid. He was just as nice as Leroy sitting over there. And 2 daughters. She took her oldest son with her. And the 2 daughters were pretty good size. And I think the baby was about 2 or 3 years old. He still was wearing diapers, but he was deaf and dumb. And anyway, Harry took us out for the 4th of July, and an older lady lived across the road. Her last name was Roberts, but I just can't think of her name. Yeah, her first name was Rose. But anyway, she said, yeah, her mother cooked at the school. Her husband worked for Tool and Die in Huntington, West Virginia. Her daddy was a fast fitter. She worked at Sears Roebuck. Needed somebody there. And the woman that was there, she couldn't depend on her, you know, just here and there. And I said, well, I had to get another job, so I got a job at the restaurant. When I went to apply for the job, they asked me what I wanted. They had to sign up help on me. I said, well, I would prefer kitchen work. And they said, well, we can use a waitress now and then. I says, oh, no, not me. I'm not going to be no waitress. And I told them my problem. I said, I'm having trouble with my husband, and if he comes in that restaurant and I'm in there, he will drag me out. Because when I lived up there on right in Elkhorn, he got on to me one night, and I had to run about midnight. I did. And I went up to Jack and Lexi's. Well, I don't know who told him I was up there, but I was up there that night. Next day, I think, and then the next day, here he walks in. We was sitting at the table eating, and I had my back next to the door. Man, he come in and he yanked me out of there. Yeah. Well, I got this job, part-time, and they paid me for babysitting, part-time. They paid me for babysitting, but for my room and my board, I worked it out. See? And I'd cook supper, you know, the days I was there. And Harry told Wanda, their names was Wanda and Harry Stahl, said if Dottie wasn't married and I wasn't married, we would get married, because she is a good cook. Don't get me wrong, they cook too, Wanda and her mom. They was, Wanda's mom was from down around Flatwoods, around Asher.
Oh, yeah?
And that there, well, I worked there for a while, and then I got tired of that. And then I quit staying with Wanda and them, and I went out there to, they was a Robinson I stayed with. but I was just staying with them or with the rest of them,
Mm-hmm.
babysitting for them. She worked for that recruiter for the Army, you know, people that goes in to take their physical.
Mm-hmm.
She worked for that. And she told me a many a time men would come in, you know, men that had their call for the service. And she'd say, oh, where are you from? Where you live? What your, oh, down the road down there, way down the road. Said, you know, way down the road down there? Says, I live up one of them hollers. Said, can I go home tonight? And she said, no, you can't go home tonight. Said, oh, I bet my mommy's standing out there on the porch looking down that road for me to come home tonight. No, she told me that. She worked there. Well, anyway, I stayed with Roberts for a while, and then I gave that up, and I went back to Wanda's. Then I went back to the restaurant to work. Well, some nights or nights when the stores stayed open, you know, late, like they do around here, 9 or 9:30, some of them 10 o'clock, if they had a special. And one evening I went downtown shopping. It was in the evening, and it was after dark, and I was standing on the corner waiting on a bus. And along come 2 guys in a car, you know. Said, lady, you want to ride? I said, no. I'm waiting on the bus. They said, we'll take you where you want to go. I said, no. So then I stood there and I started walking down the street to the next bus corner, you know. They went that way. Directly they rolled up again. Whenever they rolled up again, I went the other way. So they give up, I guess. Well, I got me a cab to the house. Well, one Saturday I thought, well, we're downtown on Saturday. Didn't have to work at this restaurant. One day she was home and she says, Dottie, if you want to go downtown, loaf around you. And so you don't have to stay at the house today. Suit yourself. And I went downtown. And guess who I saw downtown? Just like this way. Oh, Weldon Thacker. Green Thacker's out, another nice one.
Is that right?
I pretended like I was window shopping.
Mm-hmm.
He was coming this way and I was going down that way, and I just stepped in. You know how some of the doors is kind of back.
Mm-hmm.
Stepped in there. Well, one evening I was downtown again, going to get me a cab from where I work because it's kind of late, and I didn't want to wait on a bus because I didn't know who'd come along, you know, and if you didn't ride, yank you in, here you go. So I thought, well, I'm going to ride the cab, so I went down. Heard somebody holler, hey, Doors! Hey, Doors! I looked around here, it was your Uncle Owen.
Freddie.
He said, what are you doing here? I said, well, what are you doing here? He said, well, he put Hazel, brought Hazel down here to see her mom. She's over at the bus station. They moved the bus station now. It used to be down at the lower end, not too far from the big bridge where you leave Kentucky over, but they moved it back up in town. So I just walked on down pretty close and got a cab. I told the cab driver, I was up to Owen's Trek. I told the cab driver, I said, well, whenever you come back, I said, but that guy is standing there. If he asks you where you took me to, don't you tell him. He said, is that your husband? I said, no, it's not my husband. Not my husband. He said, who is it? It's my brother-in-law. Well, I won't tell him. I said, and the next time I'm in town, I said, what's your cab number? He told me, I said, next time I'm in town, I said, I'll call you up. Whenever I need a cab, and you can tell me if he was here or not. And I'll tell you how dirty Owen was. Well, one Sunday I thought to go to the movie. You know, kind of gets boring, you know, whenever you're someplace else, you don't have to work, and they're home, and this and that, so I walked from the theater across the newsstand and called a cab number, and they said, he's out right now. You want me to send him? I said, yeah. I said, I said, I'm at the newsstand, so-and-so, and I gave him the number, and after a while he rolled up, and I got in the back, you know, and I said, do you remember me? And he said, I don't know. I said, do you remember taking me out the other night where I stayed? And I told you to not tell them guy where you took me to, and he said, oh, yeah, I do now. I said, you know what that guy does? And I said, no. I said, he got another cab and tried to trail us down. Said,
right?
I put him on another street. I told him another street. He wouldn't tell him where he took me. Now, that's dirty how almost.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, that's truth,
Oh, he'd use it. Yeah.
Yeah, see, he got another cab and tried to trail the other cab down. And he said, I didn't tell him. I told him off street. You know, just like I'd have a cab bring me here. Well, he'd be up on Manor Road. He'd be up on the Spring Mill or any place. Well, then I was staying with Wanda, and she lived not too far from the drugstore. And I don't know, I had a dream. I had a dream that your dad and the shift dinner at old Hassel Park. You know, I dreamed that I could see him in my dream, you know, and was down at Marbone, and I was up there crossing Jimmy's Creek, and there I was running and everything. He had the law after me. Well, you see, my mom always wrote to me.
Mm-hmm.
But whenever I wrote my mom, I didn't put my address on the letter. I always put somebody else.
Yeah.
Or none at all. And I didn't go to work that day. Wanda said, what's the matter, Dottie? And nothing. Oh, now I know there's something. I know there's something wrong with you, or you'd have went to work today. Today, I suppose, you worked the rest. Nothing. Well, that day I got a letter from Mom. She said that your dad said when he got a picture of me, he was going to get the FBI after me. See?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I just walked up over to the drugstore and called Charles Lowe. He said, have you stole any cars and took them across the state line? No. You got any kids with you? I said, no. He said, you don't have to worry. They're not a thing